Welcome to the neighborhood, Happy Hood the podcast, where we deliver meaningful content to grow your faith, well-being, and leadership skills. Hey neighbor, I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray, lifestyle coach, inspiring others to develop self-worth through leadership applications that will enable them to live in purpose. Happy Hood the podcast.
Finish
Message.
what you started.
Welcome back to the neighborhood family. Welcome back to Happy Hood the podcast. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray. And today's guest is a holistic success coach, content creator, travel enthusiast, Chipotle burrito obsessor,
That's right.
and Jesus lover. She empowers online entrepreneurs to succeed in their faith, money, and mindset so they can achieve holistic success. Please welcome to the neighborhood, my dear friend and coach, Angel Marie.
Thank you so much. That was one heck of an intro. I'm gonna need to tell all my my podcast interviewees or interviewers to be like, copy and paste this intro right here. I love it.
Cool. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. It's a very busy but rewarding season of my life and business right now. So everything is super exciting, and man, God is good. God is good.
That is good. That is good. So as I mentioned, family, this is a very special episode because Angel has definitely been instrumental in my recent I'll say success and just my focus of building and scaling my brand. So things I have been doing around Instagram, YouTube, my newsletter, and other things that I've been kind of working on. It has been a direct influence from Angel. So again, thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you so much for
absolutely.
joining us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And by the way, you were such a pleasure to coach. It's so tough because sometimes you have people that are so ambitious and the ultimate dreamers. But it's one thing to be ambitious. It's one thing to dream. It's a whole nother thing to put action behind that ambition and dream. So you definitely were that action taker, and I love it. It was great.
Well, cool. You already dropping gems. You're already
There we go.
dropping
See,
gems.
might as well. Might as well.
So I guess let's start here. Tell us a little bit about what you do for a living, and
Yeah.
really I want to kind of want to hear or have you sprinkle in, the mission, as you mentioned around putting faith and working with faith leaders. So tell us a little bit about your what you do for a living and how you was kind of called to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do for a living, I describe it in two different ways. The first way is coaching. So I call myself a success coach, where I teach people how to build businesses, but at the same time, build their mindsets and making sure that they're stepping on a God-empowered foundation while they do it. So I teach one-on-one students. I teach group sessions. I have a membership to really run that and helping people achieve well-rounded success in those areas. And then on the other end, I'm also a marketing consultant. I work with corporate companies and entrepreneurs that are looking to level up their social media presence and their email marketing systems. And I consult them on those matters. So I definitely love what I do. I would say I felt called to this. The number one way that I knew that was what I was supposed to be doing was because I had this ultimate drive, and it became difficult to get me to stop. And I think that's how you can tell that you're not only passionate about it, but it could be such a big part of your overall calling. Before I was diving into other careers and industries and, dipped and dabbed in them. It was good, but I wasn't consistent. It was easy for me to procrastinate. It was easy for me to just kind of let it go and come back to it later. But people have to tell me to stop working. And it's because I'm passionate and I'm dedicated, and I know I'm really just in the midst of my calling.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah,
right?
well, kinda. It's
Kinda?
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely work. I think from my standpoint, it's work, but it's work that I'm passionate about. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, and it if I'm not careful, it can lead to burnout. But there's always this new drive every morning when I wake up to do it again and again and again.
Hmm.
There's not a day goes by that I don't want to do it unless I'm feeling like I need a break. I
Yeah.
always kind of get that feeling back every time frequently. Let's go, let's go,
Hmm.
let's go. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting.
Totally. Totally. It continues to refill your cup.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
in essence, there. So we talking about coaching, and if you to the listeners to Happy Hood, recently I put out 7 steps to finish what you start, how to live in your purpose ebook. And one of the steps was on getting a coach.
Hmm.
And really, to your point, allowing someone to pressure test your vision,
Yeah.
because as entrepreneurs, we're very ambitious. We have a lot of ambition, we have a lot of dreams, but when it's time to put the work in, as you mentioned, because it is work at times,
Yes.
we miss that. We miss that. So I guess as I was kind of thinking about this, I was like, maybe a good place to start is kind of debunking myths around
Mm.
coaching. You
Oof.
know, like
Yeah.
for those that maybe be on the fence or just not really understanding the importance of it.
Yep.
So when you think about some of the misconceptions around coaching, what do you think they are?
Yeah, that's such a good question. First two that come to mind are time and money. Those are the
Mhm.
top two objections that people have to not wanting to look into coaching for themselves, for their businesses, or mentorship for whatever it is that they're wanting to achieve in their life. Time and money. So, first thing with time, a lot of people feel that there is a right time to get a coach or to get a mentor.
Mm,
I've come across so many people that were like, "Oh, I want to work with you. I want you to be my coach, but my business isn't ready yet. Oh, I want you to be my coach, but my mindset isn't ready yet." And the reality of it is there's never going to be a point where you officially feel ready. You
yeah,
just have to start. In fact, I encourage people that say that they don't feel ready. I encourage them even more to dive into coaching because they're going to have a lot more success to get coaching from the very beginning. They're going to avoid so many mistakes. They're going to avoid so
yeah,
many obstacles because they chose to do it at the beginning before anything was even ready yet.
yeah,
So I think when people kind of use that reason of, oh, well, time is an issue because it's just not the right time, I think that that's the biggest myth. I think it's you are telling yourself an excuse as to why you should delay it, and that could be backed by insecurities, doubts, or fears that you have. I mean, that's the reality behind it. And I think it's more so about you uncovering what those fears and doubts and insecurities are so that you can work beyond them, get the coaching you need, and ultimately build this thriving life and step into God's calling for you. Um, the other side of it is money. A lot of people say coaching is too expensive or they can't afford it. I don't necessarily want to say this is a myth because I do
hmm,
know that everyone has different financial situations based off of your current circumstance or your current life, whatever season you are in. And to that, I would more so say, although it's not a myth, I don't want to see that as a reason as to why someone doesn't prioritize getting coaching. And the reason why I say that is because if you really want it, if you really do want it, you will find a way to make it happen.
yeah,
And there's a couple of different things I mean by that. First thing, there's something that I learned. It was a tip for how you can step into a millionaire mindset. And that tip was instead of telling yourself, I can't afford this, you need to ask yourself, how can I afford this? Because right when you start from that question, you're triggering your brain to start problem solving, which is what leaders need to do more of
yes,
problem solve and figure it
yes,
out. So I got that. Her name is Rachel Rogers. I definitely want to give her the credit. She's the one that gave me that piece of advice. Don't tell yourself, I can't afford this. Ask yourself, how can I afford this? And start listing out different ways that you can do it. I've known people that have stepped out here to DoorDash, to Uber, to do what they got to do to make the money that they need to fund things like this. Or, you know, they wanted to start a side hustle over here or sell this over here so that they could invest in coaching and things like that. So ask yourself, how can I afford this? And then two, even if you ask yourself, how can I afford this? And the numbers just aren't matching up, right? You have other financial obligations, you have a family, things like that. Biggest piece of advice, find a coach that's willing to work with you within your means. And I say that with a lot of love because there are coaches that won't do that. They want to stick to their pricing. They want to charge what they're worth. I understand that. I agree with that to an extent. But I also think that we live in a world that's so money-minded that a lot of coaches aren't willing to step back from that and more so be mission-minded, and put the money, at least at the current price point that their coaching program is on, to the back burner a little bit. So for me, what that looks like is I have my prices set for my coaching programs. But if there's someone who really wants to work with me, they really want to work with me, but they just can't afford it, I'm going to work with them on how we can do this, whether it's setting up a payment plan that isn't listed anywhere on my site. It's just a custom made payment plan so that they can get the coaching they need. Or I'll let them know about a lower priced offer that I have. So for example, if they can't afford one-on-one coaching with me, then, and the payment plan doesn't work, then I say, okay, how about join my membership where it's group coaching for less than $100 a month? So there's different ways to be able to get the coaching you need, but you as the person who's seeking coaching has to be intentional in finding the right person who's willing to help you within your means.
Yeah, I think a couple things that you hit on that I want to unwrap a little bit. The last one was finding the right coach. And I can definitely say that, family, on the receiving end of this coaching relationship, I sat back and observed Angel for a while. I sat back and observed her for a while. You know, I went to webinars that she hosted. You know, I was on her Instagram page, went to her website, you know. So for me, one of the sticking points is that, oh, she actually living this. I'm seeing results, you know. And one thing that really stuck out to me was the alignment of values around
Absolutely.
faith.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that was again important for me, you know, because I think it's sometimes you're in a unique situation where you have a calling, you know, and how do you really drive that calling in this world that we live in, right?
Yes.
How do
Yes.
you continue to be that light, right?
Yep.
So those two things really stuck out to me of just observing them, and which she was like indirectly coaching me, you know, and I was
Yep.
I was picking up on a lot of different things.
Mhm.
But to your point of finding the right person, like you don't have to rush it, you know, to your point of the timing, in which again, that of itself is something you have to overcome. But
Right.
as you go and observe them to where, okay, you may not directly hire them to be your coach, but if they offering a free webinar, oh,
Yep.
you're interviewing them,
Yep.
you know, you're turning the table,
Exactly.
you're interviewing this. I'm assessing everything, you
Yep.
know,
Exactly.
mannerisms and all of those things. So that really helped me to have peace of mind
Yeah.
coming in, you know. And one thing that you mentioned is really peeling back the insecurities
Hmm.
that we may not fully be aware of,
Yeah.
you know. But I think really when you have a coach, it really helps you to address those things, you know,
Yes.
because there were moments in our coaching session where you continue to ask like the whys, right? You
Mhm.
doing like, I think you was like maybe the five. I know they're
The
called the five
7
whys.
whys.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know. So you was walking me through, and I was like, man, she just punched holes in my stuff.
I love it. Get to
You
the
know,
root.
like, you know, and but it made me to reflect
Yep.
and it made me to remove my emotions,
Yes.
around it, and I guess just being an individual, which you have coached people, and I'm pretty sure you have been in coaching sessions.
Hmm.
When you think about the insecurities that are being folded back, right?
Hmm.
How do we embrace those things, you know,
Yeah.
and not just like run away with them? Because that's where sometimes where the rubber meets the road, when
Right.
people are okay, like, oh, you touching on something that I may need to go to therapy for,
Hmm. Yeah.
like the beat for real.
Absolutely. That's real. That's real. Yeah. I feel like, because I say this because I've battled my fair share of insecurities. And I've really had to work through them to become who I am today and to continuously become who I know God is calling me to be,
Yeah.
as is everyone, right? So
Hmm.
the first thing that I would say is you really need to come to a point of acceptance, right?
Hmm.
Like you have to accept that this is who you are right now. It's not who you'll always be, but this is who you are right now. I think a lot of times we're so used to putting on this facade and this false layer of who we are and how we really feel. And we try to dismiss emotions that feel negative. We dismiss
Hmm.
insecurities. We don't want to deal with it. Like you mentioned, we want to run away with it or away from it.
Hmm.
And the thing is, it's like you literally have to come to this humbling position to say, you know what?
Yes.
I am scared. You know what? I don't like myself. You know what? I'm struggling with perfectionism and I am the reason why every relationship I have breaks. I
Mm.
mean, you have to accept the point of life internally that you are currently in. And then once you accept it, it's up to you to align that with solutions. So
Yes.
it's one thing to accept it and to just let it sit there, right? Because I
Hmm.
think it can
Hmm.
be really dangerous if you accept it and you sit in it and now you're allowing it to cause depression and look down on yourself. That's not
Hmm.
the goal. It's not the goal. Accept it first and then immediately move on to the solutions. So for example, if I have really low self esteem, let's say that's one of my insecurity problems, I have incredibly low self esteem. I need to ask myself, okay, Angel, how can I overcome my low self esteem? What do I need to do to gain confidence? And that's going to look different for everyone. So
Yeah.
for me, I might start by making a list of, okay, what are things that can help grow my confidence? Is it reading scriptures that are strictly aligned to who I am and help me grow in confidence? Is it saying affirmations to myself in the mirror? Do I need to start screenshotting my favorite DMs and emails from people and saving them in a folder? And do I need to look back at them anytime I'm feeling like I have low self esteem? Do I need to? You just literally make a list,
Yeah.
write it down
Yeah.
to align solutions to what it is that you're struggling with internally. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of this podcast, take action on that list, take action on it. You'll
Hmm.
start to see that that consistent action will change your life, will change your mindset, and will internally create you into the person that God is calling you to be.
Yeah. Totally. As you was mentioning, um, it's almost where I have to like when you talk about accepting, it's so
Mm,
powerful because at
yeah.
that moment you can start shifting your mindset into
Yeah.
releasing.
Yeah.
And one thing that when I think about when we going back to your calling and going back to, hey, this is what we have a strong feeling that our purpose is around of
Yeah.
what we're passionate for, what we
Yep.
have a deep passion um for. And when I start to like when you start thinking about that and what the things that God has called you to
Hmm.
be, it's almost where like, yeah, you supposed to be scared, you
Right.
know? Like
Yes.
like this supposed to be hard. Like the
Yeah.
insecurities
Supposed
are
to be.
supposed to come up,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know? So when I
Yes.
start feeling those, and again, I mean, even though you may accept it, it may still take you time to overcome it.
Yes.
But
Yes.
when you think about like Paul having that thorn in the side
Mm,
of him, it's like, yeah, this is what's supposed to feel like. And
yes.
this is like, it's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That one of my favorite sayings is you can't grow in comfort.
Yeah.
You can't. If you're
Mm,
always comfortable, if that's all you want to be and do is feel and be comfortable, you can't grow in that. You're going to be stagnant. And if
yeah.
that's fine with you, okay, then that let it be what it is. But if you're looking to grow, if you're looking for um to be fulfilled in certain kind of ways,
Mm-hmm.
we believe, I know me and Jay, and I'm sure many podcast listeners, we believe that true fulfillment comes from God and God alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But God will not just take you through comfortable situations.
Yeah.
He's gonna something that I've learned recently too is like, if you ask God for peace, you think God you think God is going to put you through a comfortable situation so that you can learn how to get peace? God
Yeah.
is going to be like, "All right, you prayed for it. Now I need to bring you through this unpeaceful situation that causes stress so that you can learn how to gain peace in your life."
Peace. Yeah.
You can't grow in comfort. Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, it's so true and powerful.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. When you think about like coaching and for those that are listening that may be on the fence of, hey, working with a coach, how would you describe your coaching technique?
Yeah.
Or is it a type of coaching techniques? Are there different types of coaching techniques out there?
Yep.
And which one do you subscribe to?
Yeah, that's definitely a great question. There are different kinds of coaching techniques, and it's dependent on the personality of the coach, and it's dependent on um, their teaching methods.
Hmm.
So I know for me, when it comes to coaching, I like to offer variety, right? So when people tell me, "Oh, Angel, like tell me about your coaching program." I'm like, "Well, it's not one program. It's different programs depending on what I feel like each person or each group of people needs,
Yeah.
and just what their objections are. Like, is it time? Is it money? Okay, well, let's talk about which program could fit the best for you." Um, so I know for me, the way that I structure mine is I have ongoing coaching, which could be anywhere from 8 weeks to 16 weeks. And then I also have the month to month group coaching program in my mentorship, which is lower priced and just gives people more of a group setting, community kind of feel when it comes to building their business and their life into the way that they want it to. So I structure it in a way where it gives me options to coach different people based off of what they want, based off of what they
Hmm.
desire and need. Some people just want one-on-one and that's it. Some people want community, hence the group
Yeah.
coaching. So that's how I structure mine, just to align what I like to do with my coaching structure, but also what I know could fit the multitude of needs of all the different people that might come to me so that I have something for them.
Hmm.
Um, and everyone structures it differently. I think some coaches, they have one program and that's it. Some coaches, they don't do one-on-one at all and they only do, group masterminds and things like that. I
Hmm.
think it's just dependent on the season that the coach is in and what they're wanting to do, along with what they know their audience is looking for.
Yeah. I want to go back and we're going to pin that season
Yeah.
because for those that may be thinking about starting their own coaching service, right?
Yes.
Um, when you think about, I guess we'll call them for right now, I guess the trainee or the
Mm,
mentee, those that receiving coaching.
yeah.
What do you feel are, I guess, to sum it up around best practices? You know, what should
Mm,
individual expect or what is their responsibility? Maybe that's a
yeah.
better way of saying it
That's good.
for those that are in coaching, receiving coaching.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's good. First thing that comes to mind, they have to have an open mind. They
Hmm.
have to have an open mind. I think Some students are so closed-minded because they want to go about their business, or they want to go about things the way that they want to.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and this is where it can get dangerous, is as humans, we tend to assume a lot. We
Yeah.
assume what works. We assume that we know, when in actuality, you'd be very surprised to see how wrong you are. Like even to this day, in my business, I assume what my audience needs. And then I send out a survey and it's the complete opposite. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like people will tell you what they need and what they want. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that instead of coming into coaching with this closed mindset where you want things your way and you only want to do things the way that you want to do them, it's going to be very, very difficult to grow
Yeah.
anything. It'll be difficult to grow a business. It'll be difficult to grow as a person, to grow your mindset, to grow your leadership skills, because
Hmm.
you're not open-minded at all. So I think when you come into coaching, oops, sorry, my dogs are going crazy.
It's
I
okay.
think when you come into coaching, be open-minded, be ready to receive tips, advice that might be something that is completely left field. And you can discern whether that's something that you're like, okay, let me implement this, or if it's something where you're like, you know what, that was good advice, but I'm going to put my own spin on it based off of what I feel like God is telling me to do.
Hmm.
And that's something I always say to my students a lot is, I'm going to give you strategy and I'm going to give you my personalized advice. But if God is telling you something a little bit differently, then do that. Like,
Yeah.
please, by all means, listen to God first and foremost. So that would be the first thing that I would say to come ready for when someone is ready to be coached. Um, and the second thing is to expect to be in a season of hustle and
Mm.
taking action. Because when
Mm.
you're coached, yeah, you can show up to the coaching sessions. Okay, done, all good to go. But more than likely, in between those coaching sessions, your coach is going to give you homework. Your coach is going to tell you, okay, this is what I'm telling you to do. This is what I'm walking you through. Now it's up to you to go do it.
Mhm.
If you don't do it, you're not going to see the results that you are looking for. You have
Yeah.
to put in that action. So I would expect, when you decide to be coached, you're going to be in a season where you're going to be held accountable to take action. You need to hustle, you need to get that work done. And that's why I always advise my students, I'm like, don't don't do all of these action or these homework pieces that I'm giving you all in one day right before we meet next. I know
Yeah.
sometimes that happens and that's fine, but try to take the homework items I'm giving you and add
Mhm.
each item to your calendar so that it fits in your schedule. That way you're not rushing and feeling overwhelmed. So, so important.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think, just to expound on, again, kinda really providing, hey, the importance of having a coach. One thing that was really evident in my leadership journey
Mhm.
is that I used to separate, and I still do, because I believe there is a difference between a manager and a leader,
Oof,
okay?
yeah, that's good.
But I always gravitated to leadership and to
Mm,
leaders,
yeah.
right? And I didn't take the time to flex my muscle of the managerial um responsibilities or
Mm,
expectation. What I mean
mhm.
by that is managing risk, holding people accountable, you
Yes.
know. And I
Yes.
think I used to oversimplify it because of like, well, I'm just that's not me, you know. That's why I stopped being a formal leader and I love the informal
Yep.
leadership roles, right?
Yep.
But again, going back to coaching and going back to having someone that kind of brings up these emotions, these insecurities, or just these biases that you have and you
Yeah.
didn't realize. It's like, no, accountability is just pretty much putting in systems, putting in
Mhm.
deadlines.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? So it was
Exactly.
like, oh, yeah, okay, I can manage that, you
Yep.
know? And that was truly like, I love the underlining leadership tips and leadership, I guess I would say, qualities
Yeah.
within the coaching that you can really take and really
Yes.
utilize within your leadership journey,
Yep.
or if you're leading other people, you
Yes,
know,
exactly. Yeah.
so that, people that, hey, I struggle with, holding people accountable. More than likely, you may not have systems in place, checks and balances in place for them to really do it themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so that was really, it stood out to me just with what I experienced with you
Mhm.
and family. I'm just gonna say, yes, I'm biased. I'm biased in this,
I love
you
it.
know. So, hey, I'm biased in which we'll get Angel information if you're looking for her to be your coach. So I'm a little biased in this, but I think one of the biggest things, our biggest benefits I receive is the accountability, someone holding you accountable.
Accountable. Yes, absolutely. And that it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Jay, which was finding the right coach, right?
Yeah.
Because some coaches, they might not hold you out as accountable as you would prefer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, I always recommend that you be intentional in finding the right coach that you want to invest your time and money in to truly help you.
Yeah.
Um, some coaches might hold you accountable only during the coaching session and they
Yeah.
don't communicate with you beyond that. Others communicate in between and hold you accountable so that they know that you're implementing the strategies and the action steps that they're giving you. So it all comes down, like if you know you struggle with accountability with yourself and you know that that is probably the number one thing you need out of coaching, find a coach that you know is going to hold you accountable and be dedicated to that.
True, true. You listen to Happy Hood, the podcast. We are speaking with Angel Marie, holistic success coach. Um, Kind of switching up a little bit for those that may be interested in, hey, I have a lot of expertise, using what I have learned in the corporate America. I have a lot I can give to individuals. And hey, I may feel like I want to begin coaching individuals in a particular topic, particular
Yeah.
area.
Yep.
Um, I guess what best practices or advice would you give that individual as they thinking about launching a coaching service?
Oh yeah, I love this. So the very first thing that I would say is to make sure that you focus in and fine tune what I call your brand statement. And this is something that Jay and I had worked on in our coaching sessions, but your brand statement is going to be that one sentence that you tell people when they ask you, "What do you do?" Now, when people ask that question, you can tell that someone doesn't have that brand statement fine tuned or they're not too confident in it. If their answer is, they're either stuttering or they are saying 80,000 different things that they do. Oh, well, I do this, but I also do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. And it's like, okay, you lost me. So as a coach, even though it's beautiful, you probably do a multitude of things. As a coach, especially in specific conversations, you want to stay focused on what that brand statement is when it comes to coaching. And I'll just drop a little gem of what should be in that brand statement. It should include who you are, meaning the title. Are you a business coach, mindset coach? Are you a leadership developer? What are you? Who you are, who you're for. Are you a business coach that helps women? Are you a business coach that helps aspiring entrepreneurs? Who are you for? How do you help them? What do you help those people do? What exactly are you helping them with? And then number 4, what is the result that they're getting from being coached by you? Okay, what is that result? So for me, my brand statement is I am a success coach who helps entrepreneurs and content creators achieve mental and financial freedom through mission-driven strategies so they can live an abundant life. That's me. It's my title, who I'm for, how I help, and the results that they're going to get if they work with me. So you want to be able to frame your brand statement in the best way possible because that is going to be the foundation of everything you do as a coach. Whenever you're like, how should I frame my coaching programs? Go back to your brand statement. What social media content or email content should I create today based off of my coaching business? Go back to your brand statement. It really goes back to that foundational piece and that one liner, that one sentence that you would share with people or tell people, share it in your Instagram bio so that people know exactly who you are and what you do. So that would be my very first piece of advice. Before you even start telling people you're a coach, nail down and fine tune that brand statement. And then from there, you just need to start talking about it. You just need to start letting people know through social media by sharing educational and inspirational content related to what you want to coach on. Same thing in email newsletters or just in conversations. Get used to the word coach and get used to that brand statement as you speak it with your voice in conversations. Because I know for me, when I first started mine a few years back, I was all nervous. Like people were like, oh, what do you do? And I was all over the place with like how I can portray and vocalize that I'm a coach. And that goes back to a confidence thing, right? Insecure. Everything is deeply rooted. So start there, get that brand statement, and then just start putting out content that relates back to that brand statement. And then as you build up that consistency, you will start to be able to better frame your coaching programs and to know how to pitch them online. And you'll be surprised that people will come to you to ask you questions. They might not inquire about your coaching programs right away, but they'll ask you questions related to what you coach on. So you might get a DM that says, hey, how do you deal with burnout? And they probably saw that because you were intentional in posting content that talked about it. So I would say that those are a couple of places to start.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really great gems, and something that you mentioned and that I wanted to go back before we close out is being a coach. Those that are, in my mind, servant leaders, and my mom and dad were both, and still are, to a certain degree, servant
Yeah.
leaders when they were pastoring the church.
Mm.
And knowing what I know now, I know that they had periods of having being running in a deficit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was mental, emotional, spiritual
Yeah.
deficit, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about that and you think about coach being a servant leader, how do you balance that?
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned earlier, like, hey, it is sometimes work and it's sometimes I do get burnt out.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? How
Yeah.
do you manage the calling? That's probably a better way of putting
I
it.
love that. How do you manage the calling? Oh, that's got to be your next podcast episode, Jay.
Yes.
That was a really good one. That was a great title. I first want to start off by saying that I think it's something that everyone, no matter the status level, deals with.
Mhm,
Um, I still struggle with this a lot, and I constantly have to revisit the conversation with myself of slow down, Angel, find solutions to your
mhm,
burnout, Angel, over and over again.
mhm,
But it goes back to just being intentional in wanting to revisit it and taking action so that you are mentally and spiritually okay. And the biggest thing I can say is you just have to pour back in
mhm.
as much as you pour out. Because when you're a coach, like you said, you're a servant leader, you're pouring out all the time. You're pouring
Mhm.
out wisdom, you're pouring out advice, you're pouring out help, you're pouring out
Yeah.
assistance, you're pouring out so much of you. And we don't level that with pouring back in. We need to fill our spirits back up so that we can continuously
Mhm.
pour back out over time.
Yeah.
So think about what you need to fill yourself back up. I know for me, I have to have a Sabbath day once a week where I am doing no work. And I'm not even just saying like work on my computer. I'm not on social media. I'm not checking emails. I'm not doing anything that's conveniently easy for me to access on my phone because
Mhm.
I need to force myself to take a full break from everything. That helps me pour back in. Also, making sure that I'm spending intentional time with God, not just in the mornings, but in the middle of the day and at the end of the day. This is
Yeah.
something I still struggle with very much, but I know how beneficial it is. Beginning, middle, end, and praying all throughout the day as well. Opening up my Bible, finding community groups for support is huge to help pour back in. And then another thing I would say too is doing something you love outside of coaching, doing something you love outside of your business, that's outside of the work. For me, I love to sing and I love to play volleyball. So this past year, what did I do? I joined a volleyball team and I joined the worship team at my church. Great. It was great. So it's like stuff like that helped me to fuel myself creatively, and pour
Hmm.
back in so that I could pour back out in all the right ways.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And I would just say this, going back to finding the right coach and observing them. I remember you did a post on this very topic. And as you mentioned, as far as spending time with God in the morning and midday. And I think for me, it was the authenticity that
Yeah.
also drew me in, because I
Yes.
knew that you was going to be relatable
Yeah.
in the from the perspective of, you know what? Yeah, I struggle with this.
Yep.
I struggle with it just like you. Like I'm not perfect at
Not
this.
perfect
I'm
at all.
I'm I'm,
Yep.
I'm progressing, you know.
Exactly.
So that truly, again, find that right coach that works for you. I know for
Yep.
me, those things, like I needed that type of connection, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
So definitely
Absolutely.
find that. Um, Last question here, and then definitely want you to provide where people can get in contact with you, where they can follow you, different things like that. How would you define leadership?
Yeah, yeah, I love this. I'm going to answer this quickly, and then I have to hop off for another meeting that's happening
Mhm.
soon. But yeah, leadership. Wow, I love what you said earlier about being a servant. I think being a leader means being a servant from the very beginning.
Mhm.
Not when you're successful, not when you have all this money coming in, not when you have audience members coming in like crazy. Being a servant from the very beginning. If you have an Instagram size of 10 people, are you leading them? Are you
Mhm.
stewarding them well? Are you taking care of them? If your bank account only has 10 bucks in it, are you stewarding that money well? What are you spending it on?
Yeah.
It's so important as a leader to start from those very small, humble beginnings with stewarding things well. Being a good leader can really help position you from the beginning and grow your skills over time so that by the time you do have more income, more audience, or whatever the goal is, your leadership is already there. You already got it. And it's just going to continuously grow over time. So that would be my biggest thing there. And then as far as where you can find me, I am on Instagram and TikTok at Angel Marie Official. And you can also shoot me an email too if you have questions about this podcast episode, or if you want to inquire about any of my coaching services. I'd absolutely love to start that conversation with you. So you can just shoot me an email at angel@empoweredmission.com.
Cool, cool. Thank you again, Angel, for spending time with us, sharing your expertise. Family, do me a favor. Know that you were created for greatness. And no matter what life brings you, always love God, love yourself, love your neighbor. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray. Till next time, be blessed.